Welcome to Golden Black Live, Friday, October 6th edition. And with a Hawkeye legend, Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com, part of the On3 network. And he's the last guy in the world that would want anybody to call him a legend. I know that, but
Yes.
he does know more about Iowa sports than just about anybody on this earth. And the Hawkeyes and Purdue, big game tomorrow at Kinnick tomorrow afternoon, 3:30 on the Bird, as Brian Newbert calls it, or Peacock. I don't know. Are people going as much in arms about it in Iowa world as they are in West Lafayette or at Golden Black about Peacock? Are they throwing a conniption like they are here?
Yes. Everybody is like, and I think it's going to grow. Like on Saturday, there'll be full freak out mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how things work out with the Peacock, because I think the older you are, the stranger it is. But for our kids, they're like, yeah,
What's the big deal? Yeah.
That's the big deal. I know, like everything he watches is on a stream.
Yeah.
So, it's just, that's how he is.
Yeah, it is interesting, that world that we're not in that world anymore. But we do want to say what world we are in is Triple X sponsor, and also, of course, State Farm agent Trent Johnson at TrentIsMyAgent.com. Triple X. I know that Tom has been to West Lafayette a time or two, and he may have had a visit or two to the Triple X.
Yes.
Yeah. And it is a tradition. There are some great traditions in Iowa City and Coralville, et cetera, if you make that trip for tomorrow's game, that's for sure. All right, the great question with Iowa and Purdue. Purdue's had some success in Iowa City. Certainly, it's been somewhat surprising, winning there in 17, winning there in 21 when the Hawkeyes were ranked second. There were years when Purdue couldn't lose to Iowa back in your in my childhood days in 61
yes.
to 80. Hayden Fry came in and Purdue couldn't beat Iowa. Well, that has changed, at least of late. Jeff Brom changed it. But there's a lot on the line in this game, just because both teams in desperate need of a win and a West Division. Anybody could win this thing. I know Wisconsin's got a head start because it beat Purdue, but it doesn't have a head start yet on Iowa.
Yeah, these next 2 weeks are huge for Iowa because they get Purdue this week at home, and then next week travel up to Madison to face the Badgers. And if Iowa goes 2-0 in the next 2 weeks, they're in the driver's seat.
Yeah, they are.
With the number 130th offense in the country out of 130. So, and banged up, playing their backup quarterback. Their second half last week, they were backup quarterback, four-string running back.
Yeah.
They're just, and two of their offensive linemen, one of them was out most of the game, or all the game basically, until he had to go in because somebody else got hurt. So it's the disturbing part for Iowa is that the side of the ball that they are struggling at the most is the area where they're getting hit the most with injuries, with Caden McNamara tearing his ACL, John for 200 yards last Purdue.
Yeah.
May be back this weekend. It's going to be kind of a game time decision, but he may be back this week. In a high ankle sprain for a couple of weeks, so out since the Iowa State game. And Jazzy and Patterson has been out, so they've had John Williams, who's a good back, but he fumbled last week, and that kind of gets you in the doghouse with Kirk Ferentz. So they were playing true freshman Kamarn and another true Terrell Washington Jr. at running back, with Deacon Hill the back. It's just and Luke Lachey their best tight end, and Eric All is very good. Eric All's an all Big Ten level player, but Luke Lachey was off to a great start, an all Big Ten start, and he broke his ankle and he's done for the year.
Yeah, crazy from that standpoint. And there's been so much publicity on a national scale about Brian Ferentz and the 25
Yeah.
point game. And certainly Kirk Ferentz, who is, I thought Ryan Walters this week, and I don't know if you heard what Ryan said. He said about Iowa. He said, Kirk doesn't seem to really. I mean, Kirk's is by I think most coaches' accounts pretty very very well respected and a good guy. But he basically said he didn't care what people say. We're gonna play the way we play. But certainly that offense and Brian Ferentz, he's up against it to get to his point total just because of all these injuries. But tell me about the mood. I mean, there with that. I mean, Iowa's had so much success over the years. And yet, there's been, as is anything, when you're not going the way you want to, there can always be some people that are detractors.
Yeah, last week it got really ugly at Kinnick Stadium on the blackout game and night game, and probably a lot of liquid courage out there in the second half. A little frustration, along with liquid courage, gets and a very clear "Fire Brian" chant broke out at Kinnick Stadium, and that had to be uncomfortable for Kirk and Brian and Mary Ferentz, Kirk's wife, and Brian's family, and that just had to be tough. But there's the one constant I know about Iowa football over the years with Kirk Ferentz, and that is Iowa fans tend to not like the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
They didn't like Ken O'Keefe when he was there. They didn't like Greg Davis when he was there. They don't like Brian Ferentz now. So it's, and I always say the one constant is they're running the offense that is preferred by the head coach.
Yeah.
So you can replace Brian, but guess what? Unless Kirk decides to change the offense, it's going to be the same offense.
Yeah. Iowa finds ways to win games and happens over the years. And and I don't say just when you count them out, but there's certainly people that can do that. And right now that is the flavor of the week, just because even Las Vegas is kind of let that line leak down to a couple. And yeah, I suppose all of us in Purdue world think, boy, Purdue, you'd look at this game before the year and said, Purdue's not going to win at Iowa. They're not going to beat Ohio State. They're not going to beat Michigan. Those are three. But now that obviously gives some opportunity for Purdue. But how do you see this one playing out? I mean, this could be one of these. I always get a kick out of the over/under for Iowa games. Never seem to go higher than 36.
Yes.
You think, well, gosh, it can't be any more than a 20-16 game or 23-13 or something like that. But how do you see this one playing out from your perspective?
And you brought this up that they find ways to win. Last week was a classic example. I mean, it was a punt return in the fourth period by Cooper DeJean ran it back 70 yards in a tie game, and that's how they won the game. Was a guy running back a punt, and then they created a turnover, got a field goal to make it 10, and then exception sealed it. So the Iowa wins way in football games, and I think this weekend's going to be kind of the still where it's going to be whoever blinks, whoever makes I think is the other team's going to win. Who makes less? I think it's going to be low score. I think defensively, I'm really concerned from an Iowa perspective about how Iowa's offensive line that has struggled and is dinged up is going to handle the 5-man front from Purdue that's generating sacks already this year. If Iowa can't protect Beacon Hill, if Iowa can't create running lanes, and Ryan Walters' defense throttled Iowa last year at Illinois. I mean, Iowa barely moved the ball, scored 6 points the entire game. So, and lost 9-6. How about that for a Big Ten classic? Put that on the BTN. 9-6 Iowa, Illinois. But that's the reality. Is I think in for a tussle this weekend. I really do.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one, and it will be one. I know that 9-6 game was Ryan Walters at Illinois, and that defense, it's got some of its chops that with that win in that game. And I didn't think anybody was I remember watching that game, and a lot of it was a night game, and didn't think I was pretty sure no one was going to get to 10.
I just keep an eye out in this game, just looking at Iowa's going to have an advantage, I think, in the kicking and punting game.
Yeah.
With Torrey Taylor, one of the best punters in the country, and Drew Stevens, who's been dynamite. He's 8-9 this year and hit a 53-yarder last week that was good from 65 probably.
Yeah, there was.
So I think that might be, in a tight game, it might come down to a field goal, field position kind of situation. So that could be a factor, is punter or place kicker, which would be the most Iowa way to win a game.
And yet Purdue's lone play in special teams this year has been by a former Iowa.
Tyrone Tracy.
Tyrone Tracy is the only kick. Had a kick return for a touchdown, 100-yard, or I'm not sure it was 100 yards, but it was a kickoff return for a score. Yes, I think you're right. I think that's where Iowa gets it done, and that's where it'll be interesting to see. Purdue had a punt that was blocked last week as well. Though Jack Ansel, Purdue's punter, has been pretty good, but Purdue's kicking game, they've had some injury at the place kicking spot, and that's what's going to be a fun storyline to watch, and we will be doing that for sure on Saturday. Okay, last question for you. You guys obviously made the transition just like Gold and Black. We did, maybe a little bit earlier than you, a couple months earlier, but the move to On3. It's been great for us because people like you and our friends at Michigan and our friends at Notre Dame and some other spots that have all come over. But talk about your experience with the On3 network and the move that's made. We all are kind of betting on Shannon Terry, which is usually a pretty good thing. Of course, the CEO of On3. But talk about your experience so far.
But the big thing is we're back with our family that we had at Rivals with you and the guys at Michigan State, Penn State, Nebraska, all of our friends, and that's what part of the reason we made the move was because all of our friends were leaving, and we have a lot of faith in what Shannon Terry and his team do, and I know they're building a great product. The support has been unbelievable for us. Just having the graphic people at our disposal has been great. Nice. You guys utilize a lot of that too. I feel really good about where we're going and where the company is going, and I know it's going to get better and better. And we're still, we're as a company, On3 is kind of in a toddler stage now. They're not a newborn, but they're in kind of a toddler stage, and they're going to keep growing and keep getting better. And I'm really enthused about it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to do it. And you're absolutely right. You and I had some conversations, but that is it. There's a lot to do, a lot about that in the publishing world, because we do talk to each other a lot. We share information. And we generally like each other. I mean, it's hard not to like Tom Kakert. It's not hard not to like Sean Callahan. Jim Comparoni, I love Jim. But Chris Ballas, all the way on down, Stu Coleman Enterprises, that group, great people, and we've enjoyed that experience for all these years. All right, we're going to let you.
It's been 20 plus years. 20 plus years that we've been doing all this together.
And it's taken all our hair away, Tom. But other than that, we're all good. All right. Well, take good care of Tom Dienhart when he's out there. I know you will.
Love seeing Tom. I was hoping he was going to come up, but he's kind of taking an alternate route. I was hoping he was coming over Friday. So, but we're not going to be able to.
He's going to LA via Omaha, as they say. He's going to Iowa City via St. Louis and taking care of some business there. But we all look forward to his reporting, as we will look forward to yours, because it's always interesting.
Yes,
very well done at HawkeyeReport.com, part of the On3 network. Okay, Tom Kakert was a big deal to have him on segment 1, but segment 2, we got another guy that's a big deal. Matt Painter, Purdue's men's basketball coach, will join us for segment 2. We'll look forward to that. I think it'd be fun to have Fran McCaffrey and Matt Painter, because Fran McCaffrey, though he has that going on the sideline, great dude from everything I hear, and a good guy to be around, but intense. But I think we have some fun conversations. But Matt will be talking Purdue basketball. There's a lot to talk about with the Boilermakers this year as a team that will probably be a consensus top 5 on the, at least to start the season. And I wouldn't bet against them for a lot of the rest of the season as well. So we'll take a 2-minute break and be back on Gold and Black Live.